Pat, I don't know if you listened to the Megyn Kelly show yesterday. Stu, did you?
I did hear a good chunk of it, yeah.
Yeah, I listened to all of it this morning when I got up. It is incredible. It is the story of the guy that Don Lemon assaulted in a Hamptons bar.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I think I've read something about this, but not a lot. It's been around for several months or several years, actually. It happened years ago. But you're not hearing anything. When you heard anything about Fox, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. But this guy's protected. And CNN is protecting him. And I want you to hear the accusation, and there are several witnesses of it, so we know this did happen, and it's true. This guy walks in. His name is Dustin Heiss. He walks into this bar in the Hamptons. He's a bartender. He has the night off. His boss is with him. They go into this bar. He sees Don Lemon. They're walking by, and he's like, "Hey, Don, let me buy you a couple of drinks. How about some lemon drops?" And Don Lemon said, "Hey, man, I'm just trying to be left alone." And he's like, "Cool, sorry," and walks away. He's standing at the bar. Few minutes later, like 15 or 30 minutes later, Don Lemon walks up to him at the bar. And I'm going to let him describe what happened.
So I walk around the bar, and about 5 minutes goes by, and he comes around the bar and comes up to me, and he says, pardon my language, but he says, "Do you like me? Is that why you're fucking with me?" And I said, "No, I just wanted to say what's up." And I was just like, what's this guy's problem? And I looked at my boss, and in that moment, he puts his hand down his pants and starts aggressively.
Can you start that over?
Don,
you're talking about Don. Go ahead.
Yeah. So after he says, do you like me? Is that why you're effing with me? And I said, "No, just wanted to say what's up, man." And I look at my boss, and I look back, and he has his hand in his pants, rubbing himself aggressively. And he shoves his two fingers up underneath my mustache, thrusts my head back, and says, "Do you like pussy or dick?" And he said it like 2 or 3 times after that. And I just said, "What the hell, man?" And I just ran out the back door.
So forgive my indelicate question, but when you say he put his hands down his pants, what kind of pants was he wearing, and how do you know what he was doing in there?
Well, he was wearing shorts, and I mean, it was pretty obvious to everybody that saw him what he did. He was just rubbing himself, and with impunity, just pushed his hands up under my face enough to thrust my head back.
Okay, stop. So this guy runs out of the bar. He doesn't do anything except leave the bar. He leaves with his boss, and they're just standing outside, and he's like, I'm just like shocked. He said, and it's reminded me of me when we had an incident. It wasn't sexual in nature, but it was a violent incident. And when it happened, I said exactly what he did. Did that just happen? Right? Yeah. I was hit by a guy, and I'm like, was I just hit by an adult? That's what I said to Pat. The same thing. That's what he said. He's like, did this just happen? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, should I go back in and say something or do something? He's like, no, man, leave it alone.
Right.
So,
well, and as he points out in the interview, what happens to that story if he goes back in and punches him in the face?
Oh, he's a homophobe, he's racist,
all these things. He's going to they're going to lose in the intersectionality battle there.
Yeah. So he just leaves, and he then the next day he's at his bar because he's a bartender, and Jimmy Fallon is at the bar, and they're. Jimmy is apparently a very nice guy and knows everybody. And he was talking to him, and one of the guys said, "Hey, did you hear what happened to Dustin with Don Lemon last night?" And he's like, "No." And they start telling him the story, and Fallon looks at him and goes, "Geez, why would he? What? I'm sorry that happened."
And that's interesting because in theory, he would be able to testify that story was told in
the next
day.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, the Hamptons. So, lots of rich people, lots of celebrities are out there.
And they're all protecting themselves.
Seems like a bizarre situation where like Don Lemon's in a bar one night and Jimmy Fallon's in the next night, but that's somewhat regular in that area.
And it is a very tight community. One guy spoke out in his defense, and his employer found out about it, and they fired him. He was a private chef for some celebrity, and they heard that he had spoken out against Don Lemon and fired him for it.
Jeez.
This guy, he said, at first I didn't know what to do. I just kind of laughed about it. He said, but as the summer went on, I became the laughing stock of the community. He said, every bar I walked into, they're like, hey, how about a couple of lemon drops? And he was constantly mocked about it. And I don't know if it was necessarily mocking, like making fun of him, but
bringing up a bad incident in your life.
He didn't want to be known as that guy. And also, he talks about it. He said, I felt, afterwards, I felt like my manhood was challenged. And as somebody who is a lifetime weenie, I can tell you that I don't have the ability to punch back. I mean, if somebody was like doing that to me, it wouldn't even occur to me to punch back because I don't even know how to. I think I would hurt my hand.
This is why you carry a gun.
Right. I would it is. It's why I would throw a punch, and I know I would be like, ow, and everybody who witnessed it would go, that's how you throw a punch? Okay?
We've seen you throw a ball, and that's exactly what we said to you about that.
Okay, so it's really bad. Mm-hmm. And as somebody who has, doesn't have a lot of masculinity in the first place because of things like that and made fun of as a kid,
sure,
that would really bother me. Walking out and then not doing it, and then everybody going like, oh, you're the lemon drop. It would have bothered me that I didn't do anything. Well, he said he was trying to get past it until he heard Don Lemon give this monologue.
There is no standard way survivors talk about sexual assault. It isn't always a police phone call and a rape kit or a report filed with HR. Sometimes they don't talk at all for years, even decades. Sometimes a little comes out in a conversation with a friend, partner, or a doctor. And sometimes it comes out all at once. Why is it so hard to talk about? Well, part of it is fear, and part of it is doubt. Will I be believed? Will I be blamed? Will I have evidence? Do I have to relive what happened? Will everyone judge me? And if I speak out, will it even matter? People are tricky characters. Innocent until proven guilty must remain the law of the land. But at the same time, some guilty people do cloak themselves in innocence. Mm-hmm. Remember, after all, Bill Cosby was America's dad not so long ago. Are we interested in truth? Are we interested in healing? Or is there, as there always seems to be these days, a political game being played with people's lives?
Okay, so he said, I couldn't do it.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, this guy is making him, he said, he had to move away from the Hamptons. He moved back to Florida. He's like, I couldn't take it anymore, and I just wanted to start my life over again. And so he moved back, and he said, then that monologue happened, and he's like, this guy is holding himself up as being the pillar of virtue and the Me Too movement against sexual harassment, and that's what he did to me. And so his lawyers came up with $1.5 million to sue him civilly. And he said in it, it's not about the money, because she said, is there anything you would settle for? And he said, it would have to start with an apology and an admission of guilt. He said, that's all I want, is that I did that and it was wrong and I apologize. And that's the one thing Lemon's not willing to do. CNN is smearing Dustin.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really important story for a couple of reasons. One, it's a horrible story for Dustin Heiss, and it's an important story that these people can't sweep these celebrities. What's the difference between this and what's his name? The guy in Hollywood that did it for all those years and everybody knew.
Harvey Weinstein?
Harvey Weinstein.
Well,
no.
Wait.
I know on the levels, but
sure.
Their responsibility, they know this guy, they know Don Lemon has done this. and they're protecting him because he's part of their group. Okay? It's the same thing. When people see things and they're in their group, they don't say anything. So Me Too means nothing. The second thing is, this is CNN protecting Don Lemon, Cuomo, and Jeffrey Toobin. It is becoming a sick sexual club.
It does seem to be the, I don't know if it's the price to get in. Maybe it's like one of those situations. Yeah. It's pretty creepy. One other quick detail here, Glenn. I don't know if, Pat, if you heard this either. He said that Don Lemon has already offered him $500,000 for this to go away.
Wow.
So, like, that was really compelling evidence that this did happen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what's going to...
No, it did happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a weird and sick thing to do to somebody that, you know, he didn't start with that.
Start there.
That didn't just... That wasn't the first time it happened.
He said anybody that acts like that in public without any fear of what it might do to somebody or the consequences it might have, that's a pattern.
Yep. He's done it before. He's done something similar, I'll bet, many times.
We're talking about arrogance.
Yeah.
The arrogance of Cuomo on night after night after night, talking as a hero and a champion of women when he has sexually harassed a boss. As soon as she wasn't his boss, he harassed her. And he's held up as a champion. To be the guy writing the words for his brother and saying, I'm not involved at all in any of this, and it's all sexual harassment. For Jeffrey Toobin to do that, how can anyone look at him seriously? How could any woman that's working at CNN look at him and not think of him in the corner of their screen masturbating? And now Don Lemon? Look, in their arrogance, they will fail. They are getting so arrogant, so arrogant. There's a dark side to that. But the only thing that happens is failure with stupid and criminal arrogance. Failure follows every time.